it has been so hot. It's been in the high 80s and low 90s here in mid-May. And people are here. And all the other places that we had, the other sites that we were considering, they were all surrounded by crop fields. So, not that crop fields in and of themselves are bad, but the spray and the overspray from those fields we just didn't want on the garden. And this has worked out really perfect to be here. So, yeah, and it's a great place for chips to be dumped. They have lots of room. You know, we grow here, have kept the garden going ever since, and we give a lot of food away. And you're actually here at a really good time, because 3 years ago I put chips on, and I wanted to show you.
So the chips are doing their thing and turning into soil? Yeah,
chips are doing their thing for sure. And early in the year, I went through and cleared a lot of this stuff out, like that. The things that like to get started early, you know, when they have bare ground. When people have a hard time, they say the chips don't work. It's because they don't have chips that are thick enough. And that this is not enough wood chips for weed prevention. It retains a little bit of moisture, as you can see. That soil is moist, but it won't keep weeds away. I'm working on it down, and I will get chips over this as soon as I get more chips. There's horse manure under here, and then I put chips over these. Some friends that have horses, and they board horses just a couple miles down the road, so yeah, that works out. Yeah.
Do they bring it to you, or do you go get it?
Oh, I go get it.
You go get it.
Yeah.
I will tell you, our daughters that only have a car, they take tubs, like Tupperware tubs, they've gone and filled up tubs, you know, and they're just putting it around in their raised beds and stuff. So. Well,
God always provides what we need, and this would take an awful lot of tubs to do this.
Tupperware tub,
And so, my wife's brother has a dump trailer, and a friend of mine has a tractor, and he says, "You don't need a tractor, I have a tractor," which is really kingdom principle. You know, the Book of Acts, it says that they didn't consider anything as their own, and that's the way it is with my friend. He just stewards things. If you mistreat it, you won't use it again. Yeah, but yeah. So we have a tractor, we have a dump trailer, and I fill the dump trailer, and here we go. So God provides everything we need. And you had a question. Horse manure?
Yeah.
Before the chips?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
No.
Oh.
No, I haven't put any manure on. I don't know how long it's been since I put manure on.
What was underneath the chips 3 years ago?
Originally,
yeah.
Here's the history of this garden. Originally, this patch of ground was pretty much just like this, like right outside. Not the stone parking lot, but it was grass. And it was also, the fellow who is mowing now is doing a great job, and he's really trying to mow this back, but it was weeds and briars and that sort of thing. So what we did is we mowed and put paper down, and then put the first layer of wood chips down. That was where the garden started. Since then, there have been more layers of wood chips. I have put, occasionally, I have put manure on, not usually this thick, but yeah. And so before these chips and this manure went down, it was this right here. I told him I have a theory. When you lay out the wood chips, the microorganisms that are in the soil, they like, fresh food. And so they really start after it, and then they multiply. And then they invite all their friends, because there's this great buffet. And pretty soon, your chips really start to break down pretty quickly. And he said, yes, he got excited. He goes, yes. I read that there is more life in one handful or shovelful of healthy soil than all human beings that have ever lived. That's crazy.
I've been watching several. I've seen some of your videos, but I've watched some other ones also. And I remember seeing one, and one of them was beets. beets specifically, and he said, you know, they were coming up, they were together, but they were this type of soil. They push out, and they're pushing out and getting what they need.
Yeah.
But these were huge.
Yes.
Huge beets.
I used to grow a type of beet that's called, actually I grew it last year as well, Deacon Dan beets. One beet. I'm not kidding you. I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
Pumpkin beet.
Yeah. First year, you see this black ribbon?
Yeah.
I got that. I put that up, and you spray it with this repellent. And if it worked, it probably worked, but I don't spray that any longer. The things that are susceptible to the critters eating, to the deer eating. Now the fence keeps the rabbits out, but the deer easily jump over this.
Yeah.
And I spray with rotted egg water. Yeah.
What is it?
You just take an egg or two, scramble it up, put it out in the sun, put some water in it, put it in a garden sprayer, put it out in the sun. Within a couple of days, it gets pretty rank. They use the garden sprayer and just spray it on like the sweet potatoes. Deer love sweet potato vines.
Really?
They will strip every leaf off the vine. They really will. So I'll just spray the sweet potatoes and the deer just leave it alone. Yeah.
Oh, good to know.
You know,
And it's organic, yeah.
I forget where I saw this. I forget who it was I was looking at, but he was talking about how it was tomato. It was on tomatoes. But he said to keep aphids off the tomatoes, he said mix garlic and either a jalapeno or a serrano pepper, and put it in a blender and make it pureed like a liquid,
Yeah.
and then just spray it on the plants, because she said it won't hurt the plants,
Yeah.
but the aphids don't like it. And I'm kind of assuming that any bug wouldn't like a hot
Yeah.
spicy.
A lot of the insect repellents that you get, they have pepper in them. That's one of the main things,
Oh, really?
pepper and garlic. And pepper and garlic are both things that if you want to keep things out of your garden, plant garlic and onions all the way around it. Pepper, yeah, pepper, you get some good hot pepper.
Would that keep the deer away too?
It does, but I really find the egg a whole lot easier.
Oh.
It's less expensive, less work, and I'm all for that, with a garden. So, not that this requires a lot of work, but last year, probably each year for the last 3 years, I spent a total of 2 hours a year weeding, and that's significant for a garden this size. Yeah. And we don't water at all. The only time we water is to water the seeds so they germinate. That's it.
With this hot, they don't need any water.
No, I mean, you see this. I mean, you saw when I pulled the chips away.
Oh, but because of the chips. Okay.
Yeah,
keeps it
it's
moist.
the moisture
Yeah, now I'm
retention.
getting it.
But I did want to show you with the shovel.
That looks kind of dry.
You think?
It looks a little dry to me.
I think so, yes. But you see the color and how dry it is, and this is what was here. And now, here we are, 11 years later.
Wow, what a difference.
They say,
Wow, that's impressive.
"You're the-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that good soil?
Yeah.
you're
How
good."
many years later? 3?
It's been, this first layer of wood chips was put down 11 years ago.
11 years.
Yeah, it gets better every year. It really does. That do well together. Beets and Swiss chard do well together. I don't remember right off what doesn't do well with them, but yeah, I have a lot of things in this garden that just take up a lot of space. Partly because I have a lot of space. But here there's tomatoes, peppers and tomatoes, and then where you see the little potholes there, that will be a line of cantaloupe. Below that will be these honeydew will get planted in. We can't find any seeds this year, so we'll put those starter plants in when they get a little bigger. And then on the bottom course, there's watermelon. And so that will take care of this half of the garden for the most part.
Yeah.
And these sweet potatoes, they're gonna grow like crazy and be all over the place.
So they take up a lot of space too once they get going.
They grow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll really reach out. And the winter squashes like butternut and spaghetti squash, they reach out too. The butternut and squash, we grow in these little cylinder towers.
Oh, these two?
Yeah, and then that back fence area that's concrete remesh, and they will vine right up that and grow all the way to the top, and that will support the fruit and that they bear.
Do they climb themselves, or do you have to look like
Cucumbers, that will be cucumbers. Yeah.
You have 2 plants there?
like three?
Oh, 3?
Yeah. There'll be 2 different types in there. One is a bush type, it'll be smaller, and then another is a lemon cucumber. They look like yellow baseballs, but and they taste like cucumber. They don't taste like lemon, but they look more like lemon.
Just wonder, because since you add more wood chips on top, I wonder if anything survived, you wouldn't touch it, right? You do something like what you did there, you cover it.
If you're saying that if you put wood chips on top of plants that are there, would they survive?
Yeah, I'm guessing if something was like surviving from last year, let's pretend here, you wouldn't add wood chips on top. You cover it and you have wood chips on top.
I did put a thin layer of wood chips right on top of the strawberries,
Oh, really?
and they came up through.
Ah,
Yeah, thin layer, not real heavy.
okay.
Yeah,
Cilantro did that also.
cilantro. Yeah, a lot of things will do that. They'll come right up through. Potatoes, they're nuts. They'll grow through anything.
And asparagus.
Asparagus
I
as
wanted
well.
to ask about asparagus because I wanted to plant some, but my neighbors say those are really complicated.
What? Asparagus?
Yeah.
No.
And so I got afraid. I was like, oh, so maybe I should wait.
And
The thing with asparagus is that, you know, the spears come up, and you want to cut them off below the surface,
Oh.
which is not hard. It's easy. Just take a knife, put it below the surface, and cut it off. That's good. When they start coming up ferns, when it's a fern coming out of the ground instead of a spear, leave the ferns alone.
The first couple years asparagus comes up. As soon as it starts coming up as a spear, you cut it off.
No, first couple of years you leave it alone.
Oh, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah. After that, when it comes up as a spear, you know, when it gets long enough to harvest,
Oh, to eat.
then you harvest it and eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like this way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
so we put all our scraps from home.
It'll tumble on that pipe that goes through.
And how long does it take for it to become?
Doesn't take long.
And he adds, how do you do it, baby? Yeah.
Well, you just, I mean, what I do every spring is I'll take a shovel full of this soil, I'll throw it in there because the soil has the stuff in it that'll chew it up, and then we start adding kitchen scraps. Sometimes I have to add water if it's real dry, like now. If it's not moist enough in there, I'll add a little water. But
Did you add paper to it?
no, I don't add paper, just the chicken scrap. Kitchen scraps.
Did you?
And-
But I heard some people add chicken poop.
Yeah, oh, that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, see, because a lot of what you want to do is get that nitrogen to carbon balance right. So the nitrogen takes care of, chews down, eats up the compost, the nitrogen. But if it's not right and you have too much nitrogen, you got a stinky compost
Okay.
pile or bin in this case. But you'd be amazed in weather like this what would happen in 2 weeks.
Really?
Oh my
And all
God.
you do is add a shovel full of dirt,
Yeah,
and that's it.
yeah.
And the kitchen.
Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
kitchen scraps.
And some people buy like compost starter kits that have stuff in it, but if your soil's healthy, it's everything you need.
Oh,
right
your
there.
soil is perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen that in some of the compost that I've gotten.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
I
mhm.
wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, you want that.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
You know, this is, had been talking to a forest ranger. I just moved here from Oregon a couple years ago. And where I lived, there was a forest ranger that was one of our neighbors. And he had a garden, and he had to keep his deer out. He only built his fence like 4 to 5 feet tall. And then he put, I don't know what you call it, but it was like a netting that would this way over the fence, and then just put a wire around it,
Yeah.
the top of it. he said deer won't look up to something and jump it.
Right.
And so the fence doesn't have to be 8 feet tall.
No, it does not. In fact, I used to have sweet potatoes down there in that corner, and I put that remix for the sweet potatoes to climb up. Well, the deer jumped in, and they just started eating the sweet potato vines, but they got one of the pieces of remix was sort of leaning against the fence. They got tangled up in that, and man, they bent it all to pieces, but they never came in again. And I have a fellow that I do some work for that he grows bamboo, and he's got all these pieces of bamboo, you know, about finger size. And he lives in an area where the deer just beeline for his garden and eat things up. Well, he just took and he laid them down like he has raised beds. So, you know, here's his raised bed, and the garden's in here. He laid pieces like this about every foot, and then pieces across. They don't come near it. They won't go near it. So, yeah, it just works. Yeah, it's not that hard to keep deer out without
You
shooting
just
them.
need to know the little tricks.
So
Yeah.
this is my first year planting. I won't have that gray soil that you have. I'll have to wait 3 years at least to get like.
But yeah, for starting off a raised bed, if you had 4 or 5 inches of composted manure and paper on top of that, and then 4 inches of wood chips, you're really good.
Good to go.
And even if you don't have 4 inches of wood chips, you still have the paper, even just a couple of inches to hold that paper down, because the paper will act as a moisture, hold the moisture in and the weeds away as well. And then you will find that it will settle after a year. So next year, put on a few more wood chips.
Okay.
Then you can always, I mean, if you're dealing with a space like that size, you can buy bags of manure and just sprinkle it on. Sprinkle it on, not heavy like I have out there, but just sprinkle it on. Water will wash it down in. You'll be good. Yeah. So when you plant, you just cut through the paper and put your seeds in or put your plants in.
So I remove the wood chips.
Just to get
I
them.
open like a hole through the paper
Mhm.
so the seeds get into the soil.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep, you've got it.
I got
You're a
it.
master gardener.
She's going to have a wonderful garden.
Yeah.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. No, I made so many mistakes the first year, and I didn't have anybody to say to me, keep it simple. And until Paul said, you do know that the wood chips are just the covering, right? I will never forget his voice saying that, because that changed everything.
Everything.
When I understood that, then everything made sense, and then it started being productive. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful to you. Please keep checking back on this channel, because we'll be posting more videos in the very near future. Thank you again.